So first of all, we want to give all praise, honor, and glory to the Most High God in the name of His only begotten Son, who the Word ignorantly calls Jesus the Christ, whose name in the Paleo Hebrew is Hamashiach Yahweh Sham, Brother Lamak, Brother Gabal. We are the Servants Assembly. And what we're here to do is we're here to shed a little light on the true origin of Halloween and how so many of us as so-called blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans are planning to keep this holiday or this folly day, right? Which originates in wickedness and opening up the gates to the people of the dead and being able to commune and strictly go against the Most High and deal with familiar spirits, right? Right. So let's start from. So we're gonna read this clip real quick from history.com. It's about the Samhain tradition, which would be the Samayan, but it says Samhain, right? So read that for me.
Samhain, a godly word pronounced Samhain, is a pagan religious festival.
It's a pagan festival, right? So the Most High says do not deal with these pagan holy days, right? Go ahead.
Originating from an ancient Celtic spiritual tradition.
Mm-hmm. So you know the Celtics go all the way back to the Irish. That's what began the Celtic, well, the Irish and the Scottish, the so-called white man, right? Go ahead.
It is usually celebrated from October 31st to November the 1st.
So what holiday that we know is celebrated between October 31st and November 1st, which would be Halloween, right? Go ahead.
Well, to welcome in the harvest and usher in the dark half of the year.
So it's to welcome in the harvest. So around what time do we bring in the harvest? We bring it in around fall, right? And ushers in the dark times of the year. The sun is not out as much. It's not summer, it's not spring, ain't nothing blooming. Things are dying, right? It's very cold. A lot of times it's unbearable for certain people to even dwell in it, right? So this would be your time between fall and the winter solstice, right? Go ahead.
Celebrants believe that the barriers between the physical world...
So the Celtics believe that the barriers is what separates the physical world, right?
And the spiritual world.
And the spiritual world, right? Go ahead.
Break down during Samhain.
So they break down. So they're easier to deal with the spiritual realm and the physical realm. It's a rift, what you would call. I think back in the day, you used to have Highlander and all that. Used to jump from time to time, season to season, stuff like that. So it's almost like a portal or a rift, right? Go ahead.
Allowing more interaction.
What does it do?
Allowing more interaction.
So it allows more interaction
between humans.
Between what?
Between humans.
Between humans
and denizens of the other world.
Of the other world. So humans and the dead of the other world, right? So this is the time. Now, one thing we know is that the Most High knows that magic and all these different things are real. The Most High literally hates magic and he hates dealing with familiar spirits from the dead. Now we can prove that in the book of 1 Samuel chapter 28 and verse 8. You can get that.
This is the book of 1 Samuel chapter 28 and verse 8. And Saul disguised himself and put on other raiment.
Right, because Saul, he had lost the spirit. The Most High took the Holy Spirit away from the mighty brother Saul, which of the tribe of Benjamin, man. That he chose. He took the Holy Spirit away from him, blew his candlesticks out, chief. Right? And then what did he do?
And he went, and 2 men with him.
Uh-huh.
And they came to the woman by night.
So they came to this woman by night. So Mosai had already took the spirit off him and gave it to David. Go ahead.
And he said, I pray thee,
please,
divine unto me by the familiar spirit.
What did he say? The what?
Divine unto me by the familiar spirit.
Now we know that the Most High do not like divining. Divining is dealing with the dead, dealing with anything on the left hand side, but divining what?
Unto me by the familiar spirit.
By the familiar spirit. The Most High does not deal with familiar spirits, right? So when we go into this lesson, Halloween itself is off when it comes to the Most High because it ultimately deals with familiar spirits. That's what it does. It's nothing else, right? Can you read a little bit?
And bring me him up, whom I shall name unto thee.
Right, so it's a familiar spirit. So who will be familiar to Saul? Samuel, right? Go ahead.
And the woman said unto him, Behold, thou knowest what Saul have done.
So you know what Saul have done. She don't know that Saul yet. But she like, you know what Saul have done already, right? Go ahead.
How he have cut off those that have familiar spirits.
What did King Saul do?
How he have cut off those that have familiar spirits.
Because Saul had the Holy Spirit at first. He wasn't always like that. You get a lot of brothers like to get on Saul. But Saul wasn't always like that. Right? He cut off all the people in the land that had familiar spirits. So he wasn't wicked all the time. Israel, relax. Right? But go ahead. And another thing, why did he cut off those that had familiar spirits? Because he knew that the Most High didn't deal with it, right? Go ahead.
And the wizards out of the land.
And the what?
And the wizards.
And the wizards. He don't deal with wizards.
Out of the land.
Mm-hmm.
Wherefore then layest thou a snare for my life.
So the witch of Endor is saying, why you going to get me killed by doing this? Who's going to kill her? Yahweh Bashem, Yahweh Shai. So when we even getting into this, it's already letting you know that this is not something that the Most High agrees with. Go ahead.
To cause me to die.
To cause her to die.
And Saul sware to her by the Lord, saying.
Now look, he swore to her by the Most High. So you knew he went off. You know the Lord don't deal with it, and now you swore to her in the name of the Lord. Saying what?
As the Lord liveth, there shall no punishment happen to thee for this thing.
See that?
Then said the woman, Whom shall I bring up unto thee?
Mm-hmm.
And he said, Bring me up Samuel.
So he brought up Samuel, right? The priest, the Levite, the one that told him, hey, what is you doing? What are you doing in here? Why couldn't you wait for me? I took too long? Now you done messed yourself up, boy, right? See that? But Samuel went on, he slept with his fathers. Now you bringing him up. And listen what Samuel says to him. He's going to cut him to the heart. Go ahead.
Verse 12. And when the woman saw Samuel, she cried with a loud voice. And the woman spake to Saul, saying, Why hast thou deceived me? For thou art Saul.
Hear that? Mm-hmm.
And the king said unto her, Be not afraid, for what sawest thou? And the woman said unto Saul, I saw gods ascending out of the I saw gods ascending out of the earth. So this lets you know that even in the earlier part of this title, what did the Celtics do? They said that October 31st and November 1st was the time where it was a rift between the living and the dead. The witch of Endor says she saw spirits ascending and descending. So there has to be a rift or a separation that allows those two to happen. This could have just as easily been around October 31st and 1st, right? But on the right-hand side, but on the left-hand side, really, right? Same way, right? Witches, sorcerers, all of that is the same. Necromancers, all of it, right? Go ahead. And he said unto her, What form is he of?
Mm-hmm.
And she said, An old man cometh up, and he is covered with a mantle. Mm-hmm. And Saul perceived that it was Samuel. And he stopped with his face to the ground, mm-hmm. and bowed himself.
So he bowed himself to Samuel. Now what was Samuel tell him?
Verse 15. And Samuel said to Saul, Why hast thou disquieted me? Mm-hmm. To bring me up. And Saul answered, I am sore distressed, for the Philistines make war against me. So Samuel was like, why you disquiet me? I'm asleep. This is supposed to be the time where I rest with my fathers. Mm. You done brought me back up to aggravate me again. Mm. Can you read?
Yahweh is departed from me, and answered me no more, neither by prophets nor by dreams. Therefore I have called thee, that thou mayest make known unto me what I shall do. Verse 16, then said Samuel, wherefore then doest thou ask of me, seeing the Lord is departed from thee, and is become thy enemy?
Yeah, so you asking me like what you call me for, and you know that the Most High already departed from you and has became your enemy. Is that ain't nothing I can do? What can I do for you? Go ahead.
Verse 17, and the Lord hath done to him as he spake by me, for the Lord hath rent the kingdom out of thy hand.
So he done already took the kingdom out your hand and gave it to David. It would have been Benjamin, but now it's Judah. Go ahead.
And given it to thy neighbor, even to David.
There you go. So I'm going to stop right there. Give me 2 Kings chapter 21 and verse 6. Right? So I just brought that up just to show that the Most High never dealt with dealing with familiar spirits, man. Or worshiping the dead, or bringing back up the dead, man. And that's what Saul did. Saul brought back up the dead. So he was in sin upon sin. Right? Let me know when you get it.
This is the book of 2 Kings, chapter 21, and verse 6. And he made his sons pass through the fire, and observe times.
He did what?
Observe times.
The Most High does not deal with observers of time. Go ahead.
And used enchantments, and dealt with familiar spirits.
What did he deal with?
And dealt with familiar spirits.
See that? Go ahead.
And wizards.
And wizards. Again, go ahead.
And he wrought much wickedness in the sight of the Lord.
So all of that to the Lord was great wickedness. All of that is great wickedness. You understand what I'm saying? So even at this time, the so-called YT man, the Edomite man, was still dealing on the left-hand side, and dealing very differently than what the Most High dealt. Is anything more on that?
To provoke him to anger.
So he made the Most High angry by dealing with familiar spirits.
Verse 7. And he set a graven image of the grove that he had made in the house, of which the Lord said to David and to Solomon his son, in this house and in Jerusalem, which I have chosen out of all the tribes of Israel, I will put my name forever.
Right. So let's get 23, 2 Kings 23 and 24. So we're going to keep rolling, right? So, hey, you gotta stop dealing with Halloween already. It's showing you that Halloween is a wicked custom. The only reason we get this is because the Irishman brought this over here to us during slavery. The Irishman, right? So-called white man has different tribes, but the Irishman, one of the 10 colonies is Ireland, and he brought that, right? Go ahead.
This is the book of 2 Kings, chapter 23 and verse 24. Moreover, the workers with familiar spirits, and the wizards, and the images, and the idols, and all the abominations that were spied in the land of Judah and in Jerusalem, and Josiah put away, that he might perform the words of the law, which were written in the book that Hilkiah the priest found in the house of the Lord. Verse 25. And like unto him was there no king before him that turned to the Lord with all his heart.
Right, because those having familiar spirits, those that are wizards, those that are seers, not seers, but those that are ones that have familiar spirits, they're not able to kind of deal with the scriptures and also deal with those idols at the same time. So he had to get those things out of the temple. Those things, the king, Hilkiah, he took all those things out of the temple, right? So that goes to show you in another way about dealing with familiar spirits. So let's get the last one on that. Let's get Isaiah 8 and 19. Now there's a word that is in the Bible that goes for that. We're going to get into that next. We're going to dig a little bit deeper into it. Go ahead.
With the book of Isaiah chapter 8 and verse 19. And when they shall say unto you, seek unto them that have familiar spirits.
So when they say to you, go ahead and find somebody that has familiar spirits.
And unto the wizard.
And go to the wizard.
That pep and that mutter should not a people seek unto their God.
Right? So should not a people seek unto their God? Instead of seeking to familiar spirits, and you seek to the Most High? Go ahead.
For the living to the dead.
For the living to the dead? Go ahead.
To the law and to the testimony. If they speak not according to this word.
So if they go to a familiar spirit, they go to a witch, and they don't speak according to this word, then what?
It is because there is no light in them.
It ain't no light in them. So those that seek that, they go into the dark. If you go into the early part of this article, it says that it's to celebrate, this day is to celebrate the opening of the rift between the dead and the living. Right? It says that it is the dark side, it's to represent October 31st and November 1st, which is the dark side of the year. So to be dark means to be void of light. So this time in the world, there's no light, right? It's dark during that time, right? Go ahead.
Verse 21. And they shall pass through it hardly, be stead and hungry, and it shall come to pass.
So it's going to happen.
That when they shall be hungry, they shall fright themselves and curse their king and their God and look upward. Verse 22. And they shall look unto the earth and behold trouble and darkness, dimness and anguish, and they shall be driven to darkness.
Right, so you see that. So this goes into when the world is going to be void of faith. They're not going to have any light because they're going to go to familiar spirits. They're going to go to witches. They're going to go all over, right, looking for the word, and they're not going to be able to find it, right? So let's go to Deuteronomy chapter 18 and verse 10. And this goes into being a necromancer, right? Now, the definition of necromancer is a person who uses magic to communicate with the dead. So the Most High does not deal with necromancer or any kind of necromancy. Magic is real. Even if you go into when the Egyptians was turning the alligators, turning the sticks into snakes, they was using magic, right? But it couldn't deal with the spirit and the power of the Most High and His power. Right, so these things are real. So don't take this lesson as just something we talking about. Damn, Puff the Magic Dragon. No, this is real deal, man. And the Most High doesn't deal with it. He's letting you know that there's something to this. Okay, so let's not be ignorant, right? Over much or over little, right? Go ahead.
But me and brother was talking earlier about all that death going around, man. Look at what time it is, man. Look at what time it is. Look what's coming up. People out here celebrating already, man. You hear what's going on?
Right, you got Jake, they behind there with celebrating, what is it, Trunkoween, popping up the trunk with Halloween gifts. And you know what I'm saying? And we're going to get to that, though. But go ahead.
It's the book of Deuteronomy, chapter 18 and verse 10. There shall not be found among you.
So this is the law. This is the book of Deuteronomy. This is the second law. The Most High said, there shall not be found around you
anyone that maketh his son or his daughter to pass through the fire.
Right, so you can't sacrifice your children. You can't do what is it? You know what I'm looking for. You can't have the women. They can't kill the babies. That's abortion is passing your children through the fire, and they're gonna pay for that, right? Go ahead.
Or that useth divination.
So we just talked about being divine. The Most High hates divinity. So using divine.
Or an observer of time.
Or an observer of times, a psychic, all that nonsense.
Or an enchanter.
A person that uses enchantment.
Or a witch.
A witch.
Or a charmer. Or a counselor with familiar spirits.
So a counselor. So if I'm having counsel with you, we talking about different things. So he's talking to a familiar spirit, a ghost, a spirit, and he's counseling back and forth with that ghost about things. That's real. People really could do that. And the Most High is telling you that He doesn't deal with that. You see what I'm saying? So even in the very beginning of the Halloween tradition is a whole bunch of evil and wickedness that we should not be keeping. We should not be doing this thing. Eve, Jake, you black, so-called black, Hispanic, Native American, we need to stop messing around with this, man. That's the problem, man. So let's go back to the article.
Ancient Celts mark Samhain as the most significant of the 4 quarterly fire festivals, taking place at the midpoint between the fall equinox.
The fall equinox. So it's like I said. So this festival was between the fall equinox. Go ahead.
And the winter solstice.
And the winter solstice. Right. So we're right in between that right now. Right. Go ahead.
During this time of year, hearth fires in family homes were left burnt out while the harvest was gathered.
Right, so you gather the harvest around that time. All that was growing during the summer and spring, you gather it in.
After the harvest, work was complete.
So the work was complete. Wasn't nothing else to do. You done got in all your crops and stuff, right?
Celebrants joined with Druid priests to light a community fire using a wheel that would cause friction and spark flames.
Right, so it was a wheel they used to cause friction and start flames.
The wheel was considered a representation of the sun.
Right, you see that? So they was representing the sun too at this time. They used the wheel to represent the sun, right? So let's get something on sun worship. Hold that. Give me Deuteronomy 4 and 19. Because this been going on for years. Esau, and the Most High said that these are for him to represent. It's not for us to represent. But Esau, he could worship whatever the hell he want. The sun, stars, moon, whatever.
4:19. But Deuteronomy chapter 4 verse 19. And lest thou lift up thy eyes unto heaven.
So lest you lift up your eyes to heaven. So the Most High is saying, don't lift up your eyes up to heaven.
And when thou seest the sun.
And when you see the sun. That.
And the moon.
And the moon. So all the heavenly bodies in the air.
And the stars. Even all the host of heaven. Should be driven to worship them?
Should you be driven to worship them? Hell no. The Most High said those things are for the heathen. They're not for us. No different than certain food for the heathen and certain food for us. Go ahead.
And serve them?
And serve them? He's asking a question. He's asking a rhetorical question. Go ahead.
Which the Lord, thou God, have divided.
Which the Lord, your God? Say what?
Have divided unto all nations under the whole heaven.
So he divided all of these ghosts, all these stars, moons, Salakia for the ghosts, but all these heavenly bodies, he divided those among the nations for them to worship. So he's saying for us not to worship those. So you can see that even in this time, the Irish, the Scottish, the Celtic, whatever you call the so-called white man, I don't know exactly what tribe from Esau he would be at this time, or what tribe that would be up there, right? But they all would be East Edomites. Those things they were still worshiping from the door. They've been worshiping those things. All right. So let me get real quick Deuteronomy 17 and 3.
This is the book of Deuteronomy, chapter 17, verse 3. And have gone and worshipped other gods.
Right. So we started going and started worshiping other gods. It's still in the law. Go ahead.
And worship them either the sun.
The who?
The sun.
Worshiping the sun.
Or moon.
The moon.
Or any of the host of heaven.
Or any of the host of heaven.
Which I have not commanded.
Which I have not commanded you to do. You got your big ass telescope out. That shit damn near long as the park. And you're looking up trying to see what. The Most High said don't worry about those things that's higher than you. The Most High put that up there just for a light or a beacon, but or to represent a different time or a year or season. But it's not for us to worship. We have one God. We have the Most High God, Yahweh Bashem Yahushua. Right. Right. So let's get Ezekiel 8 and 16. We just bouncing around a little bit, Israel. But we hope you're being edified through the Spirit. It actually feels good out here today. It's not all hot. I'm totally in the Spirit right now.
We just pray Esau or Wicked Jake don't come up here and try to do something. All right, so go ahead.
There's the book of Ezekiel, chapter 8 and verse 16. And he brought me into the inner court of the Lord's house. And behold, at the door of the temple of the Lord.
So this is when the Most High, when the Most High, you know, he put the spirit in Ezekiel. He was showing him certain things, right? So he took Ezekiel into the court of the Most High. Go ahead.
And behold, at the door of the temple of the Lord, between the porch and the altar, were about 5 and 20 men.
It was 5 and 20 men. So what's that? 25 men.
With their backs toward the temple of the Lord, and their faces towards the east. And they worshiped the sun towards the east.
You see that? And they was worshiping the sun towards the east. So the Most High didn't deal with nobody worshiping the sun. All right. So let's go back to the article. I'm going to go down to Sumerian monsters.
Sumerian monsters, because the Celts believed that the barrier between worlds was breachable during Samhain.
So they said the barrier between the worlds were breachable. A breach means an opening. So at this time, between the living and the dead is a breach between October 31st and 1st and the November 1st and 2nd. Right?
They prepared offerings that were left outside villages and fields for fairies and cities. So Esau prepared. So Esau left offerings for fairies. That's wild, man. Esau believes in fairies, man. That's why we got the fairy tales, man. That's why we got Pixie. We got all these things because of Esau. All these things that our daughters especially was brought up to believe. Exactly. This is all Esau shit. And this is what we forced to believe. This is wicked, man. Can you read? It was expected that ancestors might cross over during this time.
It was expected that what?
That ancestors might cross over during this time as well.
So the Most High don't dealing with past ancestors. Like how Saul dealt with Samuel. Go ahead.
And Celts were dressed as animals and monsters, so that fairies were not tempted to kidnap them.
Esau bugged out, man.
Yeah,
so that's where you get. So they said that the Celtic people were dressed up like animals.
Wow.
So that the fairies would not catch them and kidnap them. What kind of wicked, soft, effeminate nature is that? You scared of a fairy? You goddamn Edomites, man. And now you see where our kids are dressed up like vampires, Frankenstein, ghouls, Power Rangers, dogs, cats, Bugs Bunny, every damn thing, man. This is where we get this from. And every time we do this, this is a representation to the dead. You're sacrificing unto the dead. Keep reading.
Some specific monsters were associated with the mythology surrounding Samhain, including a shape-shifting creature called a puka.
Right, so we're going to skip that. We're going to get into all the monsters. Let's go into Samhain, the Middle Ages. We're not going to get into all those mythical monsters that have nothing to do with what we're talking about. Right, we're speaking about the evil of Halloween, right? Go ahead.
Samhain in the Middle Ages. As the Middle Ages progressed, so did the celebrations of the fire festival.
Right, so at the Samhain, as it grew older, it started to progress over the decades and millennia, right? It started to change a little bit during the Middle Ages. Go ahead.
Bonfires, known as Samnigans, which were more personal. Samhain fires near the farms became a tradition, purportedly to protect families from fairies and witches.
So this thing now, it started to become something to protect the family from fairies and witches. This is ridiculous, right? So we know that the Most High don't deal with witches, so we're going to go ahead on and get that. Hold that, give me Exodus 22 and 18, the classic. But we're going to really get into this thing before it's over with. And we're going to leave you with something to remember. Through the spirit and power of Yahweh B'Shem Yahweh Shah, we pray everybody's being edified at this point. Exodus 22 and 18.
This is the book of Exodus, chapter 22 and verse 18. Then thou shalt not suffer a witch to live.
So the Most High, he kills witches. The Most High, he said he won't even suffer a witch to live. So you know that we don't deal with any kind of witches, right? So let's go back to that when we was. It's going to get a little thicker.
Carved turnips called jack-o'-lanterns.
So what did they do during the Samhain? They carved turnips and named them jack-o'-lantern. So now we know that Halloween is the festival of Samhain. It's the same thing. But they wasn't using pumpkins at this time. They was using turnips, big old rutabagas, and chopping them up and calling them jack-o'-lantern. Even if you go into the Irish names, it's always O Harris or O Charlie or O something. It's always an O, right? So now you know that this comes from the so-called white man, the Irish and Scottish, Celtic so-called white man. O Daniel, O'Connell, O whatever, right? We know that, right? So what does they call it? Jack-o'-lantern. Same people, right? Go ahead.
Began to appear, attached by strings to sticks.
They used to have strings and sticks, stick them in the ground or hang them. Go ahead.
And embedded with coal.
Now this time they didn't have candles in them; they had charcoal in them. So it made that redness.
October 31st, known as All Hallows Eve.
Right. So it was started from All Hallows Eve, right?
Or Halloween.
Then it became Halloween.
And contained much of the pagan practices.
The pagan practices of what?
Before being adopted in the 19th century America through Irish immigrants.
So how did this holiday get here? Say it again.
Through Irish immigrants.
So we know that the Irish came over here as indentured servants, and one of their main jobs was to police slaves. That was their job. So they brought Halloween over here during that time, and they brought slavery to the so-called blacks, Hispanic, and Native Americans, man. So you're keeping the traditions of your slave master and the person that was putting stripes and whipping your back. Go ahead.
Bringing their traditions across the ocean, chapter 20 and verse 6. And the soul that turneth after such as have familiar spirits.
Right, so the soul that turneth their heart was their mind to consulting with familiar spirits.
And wizards. To go a-whoring after them.
Right.
I will even set my face against that soul and will cut him off from among his people.
Right, so we're gonna leave right there. So if you keep this holiday, if you keep Halloween, and you continue to go against the will of the Most High God, you will be put to death, and your soul will be cut away from your people. Don't fear the one that can kill your flesh, but fear the one that can kill your spirit and your soul too. Right? So with that, we're gonna give all praise, honor, and glory to the Most High God, in the name of His only begotten Son, who the word ignorantly calls Jesus the Christ, whose name in the Paleo Hebrew is Hamashiach Yahweh Shah, brother Lamak.
Brother Gabar.
We are the Servants Assembly. We're going to say Shalom.